Hello everyone! Today we are painting Mew using watercolor. But before we get into the fun part with color, we're starting with a sketch and I'll walk you through it step by step, so let's jump right in. Before I start building the body with shapes, I always lay down one single dynamic line. This helps me figure out how Mew is positioned, like which way it's moving or looking and where the weight of the body is. That way the drawing already has some flow before we even get into the details. Okay, basic shapes, X, not circles. Now I start building the form using simple shapes, mostly ovals or kind of egg shapes. Not perfect circles. I use them to block in the head, body and tights. These basic shapes make it easier to develop the full pose. I'm using the sharp H pencil for this, something light and precise. I sketch the rough form first, then I start connecting them, adding the neck, the waist, and shaping the limbs and tail based on those initial ovals. Inking using fine liners. Once the sketch is done, I move on the inking, but I don't trace everything blindly. I use Ohuhu fine liner, 0.1 millimeter for the eyes and finer areas, and 0.3 millimeter for the outer lines. But I don't connect all the lines completely, especially not on the ears or tights. Since those parts are part of the body, I leave little gaps to make it feel more natural and not too outlined. It's subtle, but it gives the drawing more life. You'll see what I mean. Before I paint, I mix all the watercolor shades I'll need in little mixing dishes. That way, I don't have to rush while painting. I always work from the light to dark, so I start with a softer base layer and build up the shadows gradually. In the first layer, I just want to set the tone. I already know where the light is coming from. In this case, it's coming from the top left. So I already start thinking about where the shadows will go. Under the head, a bit under the arms, along the back of the legs, and under the feet and tail base, since they're being overlapped. Light and shadow breakdown. For example, the head casts a shadow on the neck and the legs shadow the feet. The back of the ears is a little darker too, and yeah, I still have no idea how Mew hears. The ears are kind of closed off. Maybe it's sonar or something. Anyway, bottom of the ears darker, tops lighter. Second layer, shadows and depth. Once everything's dry, and yeah, sometimes I use a hairdryer, I move on the second layer for shadows. I usually mix my shadow tones with a bit of dark blue. Even if I'm painting pink or purple, I'll mix in a touch of blue to darken it. It just keeps the shadows cool and interesting instead of muddy. The darker the shadows, the more blue I add. Final touches, colored pencils. After everything's dry, I go in with colored pencil for the very darkest parts. Tiny areas that need a bit more depth on dry paper. I add just a little extra shading to place like folds, edges or overlaps. These details are small, but they really make the drawing feel more dimensional. The eyes are super important. I give them a bit of a gradient and I also add a light gray shadow over the pupil. Why? Because the eye isn't flat, it's round, like a real eyeball. The eyelid casts a bit of the shadow, and by adding that, the eye pops more. I also darken the area under the top lash line to give the eyes more depth and definition. Okay, and that's how I draw Mew with watercolor. Starting from a rough sketch all the way to shading the final details. If you want, I can do a more advanced version in another video with more dramatic lighting and advanced coloring techniques. But for now, I hope that helps to get started with the basics. Thanks for watching, and remember, keep practicing.